Detroit Lions fans know the sting all too well, the cruel edge of a shattered playoff dream, the ghost of Barry Sanders slipping through our fingers, the silence after Calvin Johnson hung up his cleats. Last season's playoff surge felt like hope rekindled, but behind every victory lies a need, a hunger to lock down every weakness. And the one glaring question, can Detroit's pass rush measure up when the NFC North gauntlet comes calling? The Green Bay Packers, Chicago Bears, and Minnesota Vikings all have weapons that test defenses to their breaking point. If the Lions hesitate again on shoring up the edge, if they fail to find the right guys to close out games and collapse pockets, that playoff door could slam shut faster than you can say, Lions 0-16. So when the Lions start signing players and fans scoff about another body but not an edge rusher, the skepticism cuts deep. Are we just pushing paper, or is there a plan behind the moves that actually changes the game? This is Lions News Fan Report, your source for straight-up Detroit football coverage. No fluff. If you bleed Honolulu blue and silver, if you've braved the grind at Ford Field through down seasons, tailgate rainstorms, and buzzer beaters, this channel's your home turf. Drop a like, subscribe, and stand with us as the Lions fight for respect, for a legacy beyond the heartbreak. Now the news that's raising eyebrows in Allen Park. Detroit has claimed Tyrus Wheat off waivers. Yes, Tyrus Wheat, the edge rusher. No one really saw coming, the guy who's been getting tossed to the sidelines of social media's "not the pass rusher we wanted" takes. Wheat isn't Zadarius Smith. He's not the big-name splash that spurs chants or drives headlines, but the Lions saw something most others didn't. Out of nearly 200 players released last week, Wheat was the one snatched by Detroit, slotting onto the 53-man roster above players who have been here longer and known quantities like Isaac Ukwu, Nate Lynn, and Mitchell Agood. That tells you this isn't just a locker room fill. This is a calculated addition to the edge rotation. Think Ronell Lewis, the hammer from the 2012 draft, a 6'2", 262-pound stallion with the build to throw offensive tackles off balance. Wheat came out of Amite High School near Baton Rouge, a raw athlete, under 200 pounds, a basketball and football standout who grew into his frame and his pass rush craft since walking through the Cowboys' doors as an undrafted free agent in 2023. His trajectory reads like a Detroit underdog story. Initially waived by Dallas, he clawed back into the lineup mid-rookie season, finding a role on special teams before carving out a meaningful slice of defensive snaps in year two, averaging a third of the game on the field when active, logging 7 quarterback hurries on just 71 pass snaps last fall, and piling up 8 more pressures in the preseason this summer. Not earth-shattering numbers, but the kind of glimpse that says potential in NFL terms. Wheat admits he could have sewn up his spot with a couple more sacks or stronger run defense, which spells motivation, not complacency. Now the emotional roller coaster, waived by Dallas Tuesday, claimed by Detroit less than 24 hours later, flying straight to the Motor City, hustling through the playbook and getting eyes on the scheme, detailed by coordinator Kelvin Shepard. As aggressive with room for initiative, a perfect recipe for a player with Wheat's reactive, feel-the-block style. He's still behind Josh Paschal, who's grinding back from the non-football injury list, but Wheat's cross-chop move, a deadly weapon honed alongside Pro Bowler DeMarcus Lawrence, and his outside-in counter move could inject fresh looks for an edge rush group that's been waiting for depth and spark beyond Hutchinson and Marcus Davenport. The Lions' defensive line coaches see the bones of a guy who plays with active, disruptive hands, a tricky feat given Wheat slightly shorter. Reach. This isn't your typical precision chess. It's muscle, timing, and adjustment on the fly, playing chess with linebackers and running backs in a division that demands every snap count. But what does this mean for the wider NFC North chessboard? The Packers, rebuilding with younger pass rushers, the Bears leaning on surprise defensive depth, the Vikings adapting to new schemes, Detroit bringing in Wheat isn't a headline-grabbing blockbuster, but it's a strategic ripple, an insurance policy while Hutchinson heals, a youth audition that balances risk and reward, a nod to Dan Campbell and Ben Johnson's blueprint, emphasizing edge, speed, and power with unpredictable angles. If Wheat can turn some of those pressures into sacks or even force quarterback mistakes, the Lions might quietly tighten their grip on a defense that's been missing a consistent edge, threat since Smith's absence. Meanwhile, the depth chart shifts, aggressive competition for snaps, a reminder that no roster spot is guaranteed. You can bet Wheat is pushing those ahead of him. Locker room whispers might already be weighing his hustle and adaptability. Meanwhile, fans can squint and imagine a day when Wheat becomes a notable piece alongside Hutchinson and Davenport instead of an invisible face on the roster. And here's a quip only Detroit fans live to deliver. In a town where winters bite as hard as Packers' defenses, Wheat might not be the snowstorm you expected, but he's the new chill in the air, one that we hope strengthens the front lines and doesn't leave us shivering once the NFC North gauntlet heats up. Lions fans, this is the moment to reflect. Are we looking at a late-season rotation player or the next piece in Detroit's defensive resurgence puzzle? The grind to the playoffs is a war of attrition. Every snap where Wheat's hand swipes the ball or breaks a block inches the Lions closer to closing the gap with their rivals. And as the green of the Packers' Lambeau Field looms next, Wheat's may not start on Sunday, but his presence already changes how opponents game plan. How do you see Tyrus Wheat shaping Detroit's future? Is he a pivot away from the Zadarius Smith shadow or a sign Detroit's building a more balanced, unpredictable pass rush? Drop your take below. Toughen up for the NFC North fight. And remember, the Lions aren't just here to play, we're here to roar. Stay locked into Lions News Fan Report, where the wins are fought for and the heartbreak fuel a hunger that only Detroit fans can know. The next chapter is just beginning. What if the Lions' latest move isn't just a depth shot, but the start of something bigger? The Detroit roar is heating up at Allen Park, and with every signing, every roster shuffle, the stakes skyrocket. This is our city's moment to seize control or see history repeat itself. The NFL's watching, rivals are circling, and Detroit's front office might be on the edge of a decision that could send shockwaves through the NFC North and beyond. Imagine the Green Bay Packers already tinkering with their pass rush to counter what Detroit's building, the Bears analyzing every snap, every rotation, looking for their opening, the Vikings quietly reshuffling, trying to keep pace with the Detroit move that may define the division's future. This Wheat signing isn't just an insurance patch while Hutchinson recuperates. Insiders suggest it's a calculated pivot. Could Wheat's disruptive hands and NFL grind finally unlock the kind of pass rush the Lions have been missing since Zadarius Smith's departure? Or is this a gamble that might backfire, turning into an underperforming rotation piece and stalling Detroit's playoff push? As the clock ticks toward the critical season-defining stretch, every snap counts, especially if Wheat's speed and raw power start turning pressure into sacks, or if opponents merely see his addition as one more target to exploit. The Lions coaching staff puts faith in heightening competition. Locker room whispers hint at Wheat's relentless hustle and hunger. But what if this move sets off a chain reaction? Another team panic signing, a trade, or maybe even a sneaky draft pick in the works that leaves Detroit's front office with more questions than answers? The emotional roller coaster continues. Does this signal the dawn of a new defensive chapter or a stopgap in a season that could define their legitimacy? The NFC North's chess match has just escalated, and Wheat's arrival might be the pawn that turns into a queen, shifting power dynamics across the division. But make no mistake, if Wheat begins flashing those disruptive hands, if his pressure starts translating into game-changing sacks, the Lions' playoff ambitions go from hope to undeniable reality. And here's the kicker. This isn't just about rotation or depth anymore. This is about escalating the pressure on rivals, forcing quarterbacks into mistakes, and finally putting the league on notice that Detroit isn't here to compete. They're here to conquer. Yet the question remains, are we looking at a corner turned or just another chapter in the Lions' storied roller coaster of near misses? Because if the front office pulls the trigger, brings in reinforcements at this critical juncture, it might just be the moment that either ignites the Lions' forgotten legacy or consigns their dreams to the dark winter ahead. Frankly, Lions fans, we've seen this movie before. Hope rallying, a bold move, then heartbreak. And as much as I want to believe this is different, the ghosts of past failures whisper loudly in the background. Still, there's a spark now, a feeling that maybe, just maybe, this gamble is the shake-up Detroit needs to finally push through and leave years of heartbreak behind. So buckle up. Deadline day isn't just a signing frenzy, it's the dawn of a new Detroit era, or the quiet before the storm. One thing's for sure, if we double down now, we're betting the house on a future where Honolulu Blue reigns supreme, and the roar at Ford Field drowns out all the doubters. Are you ready to see how this plays out? Because this city's pride and our season hangs in the balance. And if the front office takes the risk, we could be witnessing the start of a Detroit dynasty, or watching this season slip into the shadows of what could have been